Everybody, thank you so much for coming. In my mind, I imagine thousands of people, and it's going to be extremely intimidating, but there aren't thousands of people, so it's even more intimidating, except that I look sillier being behind a podium. My name is Barry Kurland. I'm the chair of Scituate's Economic Development Commission. If you call it a committee or a board, that's okay. I was going to be starting off by welcoming someone who would really draw everybody in. Our state representative, Patrick Kearney, was going to be here today, but he's in session at the moment, and or 93 is what 93 is. So I want to thank the Scituate Senior Center for hosting us tonight. I really appreciate being in this beautiful facility. You know, just on a sort of a family note, my wife's uncle passed away a few years back, right before we moved back to the South Shore. I should say she moved back to the South Shore and dragged me along with her. Story is old as time, and if he had been here, I would have been here a lot. So that's sort of the bummer part, but the nice part is I'm really glad to be here. It's absolutely beautiful. I hear about it most in town meeting, and boy, it lives up to the hype. So thank you to the Senior Center for welcoming us. Since Representative Kearney isn't here, you're going to have to hear me just jump right into the boring stuff. Why are we all here tonight? Well, we're all here tonight because you guys represent Scituate's community stakeholders across a real range of interests, a real range of people. And you participate, you show up, and you lead the community. I'm here as part of the Economic Development Commission, which has been around since 2014. We are a committee of, committee of 7 people who are appointed by the Select Board for 3-year terms. And our mission is to impact positively the business community in Scituate, the tax base in Scituate, and make recommendations for how Scituate can grow and how the Scituate business community can grow. We choose to take a pretty broad view of what it means to be the business community. The business community for us is a series of stakeholders who are obviously the town's businesses. That one's easy, but the town's boards, commissions, committees, and stakeholder organizations who are forming the core of who's here tonight. The reason that we find what our civil society to be right alongside our businesses as part of the business community is because the civil society in Scituate supports a whole host of events that create a culture that really forms the foundation of our business community. Without one, there's not the other. A couple of years ago when I joined the EDC, we were continuing under the leadership of Suda Pisa, who's here, our former chair, to try and figure out how we help the business community and how we separate anecdote from data and how we create data from anecdotes. Because if you've lived in Scituate for more than 2 years, I know this was a fact, then you can ask anybody what's going on, and some people will say, I have no idea, and some people will say, oh my God, it's so easy to know what's going on. You just talk to this person, this person, this person. And we realized maybe that's not the best way for businesses to be able to thrive. We need to figure out how to help businesses in a siloed information atmosphere. And so one of the things that we did was we decided, bear with me here, to ask businesses what's going on. Last year we launched the first annual Scituate State of the Business Community Survey. And one of the things that came out of that, even though it was just a first annual. We're coming, you guys have all now received emails from me, and you might be thought, who is he? Think about if you'd received an email a year ago. You really would have thought, who is he? Because I couldn't write chair by my name. And so, but one of the things that came through very, very clearly was that our businesses had realized that, we need to understand how to frame ourselves, how to frame Scituate, how to market ourselves, who are our customers, when do our customers come, where do they come from? Whole range of questions that all came down to marketing. And this started to come together with an initiative that had already started at EDC to create a marketing strategy. But what it did was it gave us a real reason to move forward using the resources that we had, which of course we have to be efficient with as a town committee, to say this is something that will really help the business community. So I'm going to actually welcome our member Grace Gardner up to talk about how we turned that question and that sort of need, that gap that we'd uncovered into a little bit of action, which is why we're here today with the Michelles, who we will introduce in just a moment.
Hi, everybody. So yeah, building on the context that Barry just shared, I think we really were interested in hearing from the community and not going off of what we heard from our neighbors about what the actual needs of businesses were. So with that intention, we went about thinking about, hey, how could we do a survey and actually get in touch with businesses and start to understand what their needs are. So this was an idea that actually first was developed back in December 2023. Thank you very much to Susan Dayleader, who is also part of the EDC, and she kind of first brought this idea in as a strategic priority. And then we really developed an early strategy or conception of what this this survey should kind of prioritize, and it really fell into a couple buckets. It fell into, hey, how does the town and businesses communicate? We had questions around like, hey, what's your customer look like? And then also, what are the things that you really want to understand that you don't have access to and don't currently know how to get in terms of information? And so as we went out to businesses, what we heard from them was, hey, businesses are grappling with how to market. We don't have a common platform anymore from which to communicate to the community or for the town to communicate to the community. And with that, businesses lose an opportunity to talk about their events, which are sometimes their biggest moneymakers of the year. They lose an opportunity for a platform to advertise that they exist. There isn't a lot of wayfinding in the town. These platforms don't exist, so it's hard for those coming into town to know where to go. So businesses, we heard loud and clear, hey, we don't know how to market, what channels we should be using to market, or who we're actually marketing to. There was also a desire to define who Scituate is as a destination. I think the South Shore has come a long way. I grew up here on the South Shore, left for 20 years, I came back. In some ways, it's the same thing. In some ways, it's very different. I just went to dinner at Rote Marine. That was not a restaurant. They did not have music when I was growing up. I definitely was not taken there by my parents. It is a totally different experience. And that's kind of the thing, is like, what is this new South Shore experience, and how does Scituate feel within that fabric? And lastly, we also heard from businesses about communicating the expansion of the State of the Business Community Survey. I think our first go around, we got 27 responses, which when we started from 0 was big, but we also want to perpetuate this in the future, grow the number of responses so we can start to substantiate and grow on the information that we have gotten as this kind of first baseline. And so using the survey as an annual tool to check in with businesses seemed to be something that really resonated with them as well. So we heard loud and clear, hey, there is a big gap here in terms of marketing, and that's really where we were able to prioritize, hey, we can do something as EDC. We can create some action out of this, and we put together this RFP that went out, and that is how we discovered the Michelles, and I'll let Barry take it from there, but just as context, that is the entry point to this discussion tonight.
Thanks, Grace. Yeah, Grace is a bit overly modest. Grace really led the effort to create an RFP that went out to creative firms all over Massachusetts, all over New England, and we received some very strong proposals. But what we really were looking for is to assist the town and the business community to market Scituate to an expanded audience from the South Shore and beyond. We decided that we really didn't want to say, here's what we are, right? We're a beach town. We are looking for day trippers, because we realized we don't know. What we heard from people was, we know our customers, but also we don't know, right? There's this confusion, this we don't even know what we don't know. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to look for a firm that was creative, yes, but had a really strong ability to do research that was stakeholder driven, that would lead to the ability of those stakeholders to be able to take action from their findings. So what we did was we went out and we saw an experienced, collaborative professional services partner. And what we got was McGrath PR. So Scituate based, with deep community roots, public relations, branding, and marketing expertise. And we were able to select them through this competitive RFP process, and we feel very fortunate to have McGrath leading for the last several months, and for the next several months, our marketing initiative. The project is managed by, sorry, right now I'm going to get into the sort of what we call the Michelles, and so I'm frequently not saying McGrath PR and Ideas Ablaze, but what we have here are the leaders of McGrath PR in partnership with Ideas Ablaze, which is a consultancy that has 25 years of expertise in the economic, tourism, and business development industries. Right? And together, we decided, or we realized, that this was the collective proven track record in strategic communications, tourism promotion, marketing, and place branding that we needed to be able to do this stakeholder-driven research and bring it to a place that was actionable. Right? One of the major weaknesses of being on a town board, which I think many people in this audience understand, is we are doing other stuff all the time, right? It has been an absolute boon to us to be able to bring on professionals who have their eyes on the ball for Scituate. So I want to welcome Michelle and Michelle. You guys, as I introduce you, you can sit there or you can come up. It depends on how shy you're feeling tonight. All right.
Yeah.
Michelle McGrath.
Push the button.
No, there we go. We have
She's
slides.
enjoying it so
Oh,
much.
That's not you, buddy.
That's
Sorry.
He
We're
said
gonna
his
go
regrets.
2 more ahead of
this
this.
afternoon.
Yeah, here we go. All right.
Okay.
Michelle McGrath is the founding president of McGrath PR. McGrath PR Media Relations, excuse me. As I said, Scituate-based public and media relations firm that's established in 2009, focused on strategic marketing, public relations, and a full spectrum visibility for the arts, culture, nonprofit, and small business sectors. You hear arts, culture, nonprofit, and small business. For me, I really think of Scituate, and that's one of the reasons that the application that Michelle put in really stood out. Michelle McGrath has been a Scituate resident for 9 years. She's served the community through back-to-back terms as the Scituate Cultural Council Public Relations Chairperson and Social Administrator. Michelle, through McGrath PR, has supported hundreds of organizations and businesses, including Scituate-based Choral Arts Society of the South Shore, Casa Verde Latin Kitchen, I don't know if you've been, please go, Scituate Friends of Music, and First Trinitarian Church of Scituate. A partnership with a Swingin' Affair big band raised nearly $4,000 for Scituate high school music programs, resulting in a permanent role with the ensemble and the origination of the band's collaborative education program, currently expanding to all of Eastern Massachusetts. Congratulations. Her creative endeavors include becoming a book author during the pandemic when she published The Creative Table, a New England-centered cookbook featuring coastal Scituate photos from her own lens, which rose to the New England #1 bestseller just 10 days after publication. Also, congratulations. Most recently, Michelle has supported the visibility of national projects, including the launch of the Family Heritage Experience, which is a new destination for family history discovery in Boston, named for Dr. Henry Louis Gates Jr., who was the host of PBS's Finding Your Roots, and a national virtual presentation between Mark Morial, Executive Director of the National Urban League, and Kenyatta Berry, celebrity genealogist, author and host of PBS's Genealogy Roadshow. I'm going to be talking to you to get to them. But, yes, anyway. Tonight, Michelle is going to be leading this presentation, sharing information on the project's branding, marketing, and placemaking facets of our project. Placemaking is something we're very interested in, right? What is this place? But we have Michelle's, not Michelle. So McGrath PR has engaged in this project in conjunction with her longtime venture partner, Michelle Pecoraro. Michelle Pecoraro is an experienced executive and nonprofit leader whose career spans tourism development, cultural programming, marketing, and public engagement across Massachusetts. One of the things that really stood out to EDC when we looked at their application was Michelle's involvement in Plymouth 400, where she was the executive director, or is the executive director. But she led an internationally recognized commemoration of Plymouth Colony's 400th anniversary, deepening public understanding of regional and national history. She's held key leadership roles with the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce, Destination Plymouth, and the Plymouth Patuxent Museums, that's Plymouth with an I, and developed the Massachusetts 400 initiative to support anniversary commemorations in towns like Scituate through 2030. When the Democratic National Convention took place in Boston in 2004, she took a leadership role as president of the Massachusetts Cultural Coast at the request of Representative Bill Del Hunt to showcase the southern coastal communities of Massachusetts. Michelle's work has earned honors including the Pilgrim Society's Bradford Award and the Alden Society's Speak for Thyself Award for Women in Leadership. Congratulations. Tonight, Michelle is going to be introducing methods of data collection, anecdote to data, to gather community input throughout this process. Now she's consulting as president of Ideas of Blaze. Michelle is helping clients grow their impact through strategic planning, legislative engagement, and industry partnerships through strategic planning, propelling her clients' business potential through innovative executive strategy. I want to let you know, I thought of really cutting down on those introductions, but I actually think that each piece of that is really important to understand why we decided at EDC that this is the right team to lead stakeholder engagement. In this room, in many conversations that I know that they've been having before and to come. So Michelle, come on up and take it away.
Thank you.
Everybody, I'm one of the Michelles, as you now have guessed.
With two L's.
And I'm so glad that you're all here tonight. Thank you so much for making the time to learn about what we're doing so that way we can best serve all of you, because that's really why we're here, is to make sure that we're taking good care of you first. I'm just gonna make my own little flashlight here so I can see well under the shadows. So we're gonna keep this kind of casual and high level, but we're just gonna give a little bit of information up front to make sure that you know the high-level research and discovery phase that we've just are getting close to completing, right? And we've been working on this since April 1st, very intensely. Had a lot of meetings with some of you here. Thank you for making the time. And our collaborative project between Michelle and I and EDC focuses on 4 strategic goals, which you can see up here. First, we're going to aim to unify Scituate's community identity. And as Barry said, we have to understand what that is before we can unify it. So that's the work that we're charged with, is making sure that we do our research. So that means highlighting what makes Scituate unique, its coastal charm, its rich history, creative spirit, and welcoming neighborhoods so that visitors and current and relocating residents alike can experience a consistent and authentic story of who we really are. Secondly, you'll see up here is the building block, if you will, and that includes strong marketing and placemaking strategies, which involves deeply creative and cohesive messaging, and visual branding, which also will help enhance the look of what people see as they come to town. You may have noticed a great stride in this direction lately in the uniform wayfinding signage about town. Has everybody noticed that? The signs at the historical sites and at the beaches. It's presenting something more cohesive so that people understand where they are, and it's such a critical item for first timers, for sure. I've been really enjoying watching that. Thirdly, our efforts will attract both visitors and businesses. So if you're a business or organization leader here in town, we want to make sure we're supporting you and continuing to attract the types of people that want to do business here or host an organization in the town of Scituate, so that we can increase visibility for this space as destination for cultural tourism, coastal experiences, entrepreneurial opportunity, and helping local businesses thrive by drawing new investment. And finally, we're here to support long-term economic development, which is why we have this contract in the first place. Thank you so much to Barry and to Grace for your dedication to putting this contract together so we would have this opportunity, and to the commission. By aligning our branding, tourism, and business growth strategies, we're investing in a vibrant, sustainable future that benefits the entire community, residents, business owners, and town leadership alike. So together, these goals will form a foundation that's unified and forward-thinking in our approach to Scituate's growth for the future. Okay? You can go ahead and move that forward if you would mind, and Michelle is going to take the podium here for a moment.
Thank you. Michelle with 2 L's.
Yes, that's the reason.
The differentiation.
I'll just interject. The reason why you have custom, I might say, M&Ms in front of you is because we have now come to be known as the M&Ms. So we couldn't help but use that opportunity to give you a little sweet treat.
Absolutely. So we hope you enjoy that, and it says thank you, and we do thank you for having us to work on this really important strategic planning and economic development plan with you. I am going to just give you a little background of my Scituate experience. When I was 18, I started, along with 2 of my colleagues, I started Scituate Young People Summer Theater at the House of Ronnie Schoen, actually at the Congregational Church. And I worked with Peter Tolan and Donald Capon for. Yes, and you were a camper.
Wow, that's great.
So
That's cool.
yeah, so I do have some experience with Scituate. I did that for about 20 years, and until I had my first child and tried to take him with me, and everybody babysat him, but it didn't work out. But it was a great experience, and I learned a lot about Scituate, and I met a lot of people from here. And it's not unlike other New England towns, other Massachusetts towns, but other New England towns that are coastal. So you have a lot in common, but what differentiates you? So I'm going to start with some fun facts. Tourism, which I know some people don't want to hear that word. Visitor is what we use, but tourism is an industry. It is, in fact, it's one of the largest industries in the world. In 2024, tourism contributed $10.9 trillion to the global economy and supported nearly 360 million jobs, according to the World Bank. That's 1 in every 10 people had a job in tourism worldwide, whether it was directly in tourism or in restaurants and shops. Brand USA, which is our marketing organization to the world in America, defines a tourist as an individual who travels to a place for leisure, recreation, or business and stays for a period of time, typically overnight, but which can include a day visitor, but not as their primary residence or place of residence or place of work. Massachusetts and many other states define a visitor as anyone from outside of a 50-mile radius of the identified destination. So we do have a lot of visitors to Scituate who come for your restaurants from Norwell and Hingham and even Plimpton, where I live. But we are not considered visitors because we come and we're like ping pong balls. We come and we do one thing and we leave. Oh, by the way, speaking of doing one thing, so as I was looking for something to wear to this tonight, I went through my closet and I bought this dress at Heritage Days about 40 years ago. So I really felt like that was a good omen. As the EDC determined, this initiative is designed to position Scituate for sustainable economic growth, attract visitors and residents, and support our local businesses. In order to measure Scituate's tourism readiness, and so you're going to hear us say that a lot over time, but in order to measure Scituate's tourism readiness, we will need data. And we started with the economic development study that the EDC reported in December and 2024, and they will continue to do annually. We will be adding important data in order to determine Scituate's core strengths and differentiators. What makes Scituate a destination that people want to visit and especially to come back to again and again? We have identified and created several tools that will help us gather data from you, the stakeholders, community leaders, townwide businesses, and most importantly, the visitor. These tools include today's information gathering, which you can see that there are some flip charts on the back table. I'm very old school. And I'm going to ask you all to get up in a little while and write on those flip charts. So through this activity you will do at this meeting, we will collect very top-level information on what you each identify as Scituate's core strengths, challenges, and communication methods. Tourism asset inventory. So that document, you will receive a tourism assets inventory form in your email on Monday, June 23rd. This will give us an idea of the many things that visitors can do and see, plus all of the needs that they may have while traveling. Example, I was in Provincetown with a friend of mine who came up from North Carolina, and she fell the first day we were there and broke a rib. So where was urgent care? Well, we found it, we took care of it, but those are things that we don't think about as a visitor travels here. So that tourism assets inventory, we're asking you to please do that by June 30th, and I'll talk more about that towards the end. The visitor surveys. So we are planning to do 2 different days of visitor surveys, and we may actually add a day at the end of August. But on July 12th and at Heritage Days on August 2nd, we will be conducting visitor surveys on the streets of Scituate. We are using volunteers to help execute that. So if you would like to sign up, I have a sign-up sheet. We have sign-up sheets over there on that table for both, and the dates are on there for both days. And then we are doing ongoing data collection, which means as we have been doing, we have been meeting with people, we've been talking to people in the community, in business, and municipal groups and individuals. Through this initial phase, we will create a data-driven foundation of information that will help us to determine the future strategy that we will use to action, to activate all of these ideas. Michelle?
So as we are you on the right slide. Great, thank you.
I went to college.
I'm sorry?
I went to college for this.
You did? Must have been a good college. Good school. So a lot of what we've just described has really been primarily in the discovery phase, including some plans for research. And so we're just on the verge of entering the next phase, which is very exciting for us because we've been doing a lot of legwork. And so we're going to start by, creating this unified story that residents and visitors can resonate through. So we're beginning with the define phase. As you can see up here, we'll be detailing and articulating conventional Scituate visitor profile. So we're looking at the ideal visitor profile or the identity of the person that might visit here. What kind of travelers, families, businesses, cultural explorers are most likely to engage in Scituate? And what do they seek in what we have to offer here? And at the same time, we're going to be assessing who is currently visiting and identify any gaps or missed opportunities to improve the turnout at your businesses and organizations. And then we'll also perform a benchmark comparison. This is, for me, one of the most exciting parts of the project. I actually got to write code. I've never enjoyed doing this so much in my life. To create customized forms for us to benchmark. We've brought in and talked to the state of Massachusetts tourism experts and the Massachusetts Cultural Council to choose as many as 9 communities through New England, which we will be benchmarking to look at who's successful at what, how can we benchmark that here to improve our results, and to that end, can we do it successfully and help us find opportunities to stand out and lead in our own new and unique way. At that point, I realized I needed to create a community facet rubric. So there's, again, this is very customized, which is a detailed framework that's looking at everything from cultural offerings, business climate, public space design, the visitor experience. And by utilizing things like our custom survey matrix and a rating system, we're going to evaluate Scituate alongside those peer communities to identify our opportunities for potential, the differentiation, and our strengths, and compare them together. We'll be providing those, but reporting back to the EDC. And then let me get to enjoy the creation phase, and to me that's the best part. I'm a creative soul. My whole background is in arts, music, and now a lot of writing thanks to my public relations career. So this is where the visual and the verbal elements of Scituate's place branding and positioning strategy will come to life. We're going to craft clear and appealing brand messaging that reflects the town culture and history, coastal character, our strong local businesses, and our overall lifestyle after we inform all of that from our research and efforts up to that point. So following that, the phase rolls into practical, easy-to-use branding and marketing toolkit. We've made some decisions on what we're going to be handing back to the community, and that includes some things I'll talk about later. But it will include guidelines for visual branding, storytelling, digital marketing, and then an accountability plan and schedule. So that way, when we deliver these tools to the town, there will be some accountability for it to be executed. This isn't just a contract that's going to disappear into the sunset, although we do love the sunset here. So ultimately our goal is to deliver a brand that's more than a logo or a slogan. It's a true reflection of what makes Scituate so special, and a story that we can all tell with pride, a strategy that drives long-term economic and cultural vitality. All right, so I'm going to turn this back over to you, Michelle, and you can switch that. Thank you.
All right, so after we have done the data collection, research, benchmarking, and brand identity work, we will look toward the implementation of the goals of the project. This will serve as a roadmap towards the action and, again, the engagement of the leadership and the business community, which is absolutely crucial to this process and why you're all here. First, we will deliver strategic, realistic recommendations that the town and stakeholders can act on, build, create, and bring to fruition. Next, we will lay the groundwork for future investments and ideas for funding in tourism and economic development. Finally, we will offer a vision for the town's future initiatives and implementation plans to drive economic prosperity and tourism growth in Scituate. We can only do this with Scituate's community and business involvement, stakeholder engagement, and visitor input. I cannot stress enough how important you are to this process. Your role will be key to the success of what we end up with as a plan for Scituate. So we will seek your input through the tools we have outlined here, as well as your feedback on brand messaging and concepts, and your participation in implementation discussions. In other words, how are we going to do what we have collected all this information for? How are we going to move forward with that? So, you see, you are critical to this effort. Barry?
Sure. All right, I'm going to be really brief this time. Not my strong suit, but ultimately we're here for stakeholder involvement, and we want to get to the stakeholder involvement, which comes right after this, I believe. So thank you very much for giving us the background and the future of what's going on. It's from the EDC perspective, it's really impressive and just exactly where we want it to be, which is that we want a campaign for a long-term strategy. It's a foundation of a community-supported, stakeholder-driven process. Thank you for that. Just very quickly, once this gets handed back to the town, what happens, right? And I point to myself as if I'm the town. We're not the town. As you know, boards, committees, organizations, we are volunteers who are all trying to help in different ways in town. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this strategy and we're going to use the power of the stakeholders who drove this strategy to be able to implement the strategy. Our idea is essentially to implement this in two ways, right? Obviously, we don't know what the strategy is, that's why we're listening, but we want to make sure that the elements of the strategy that people in town can use are shared resources. We are part of Scituate's government, or advising Scituate's government, and we want to make sure that anything that we do is shared out so that it can be put into action as people want. My vision, I'm an economist by training, and one thing that I understand, I sort of have been taught, is that if you give the tools out, people can row in the same direction, but decide how they're going to row in that direction, what order they're going to use. So what we hope is to have tools that can be used by all sorts of different kinds of organizations, different kinds of businesses, but where everybody increases understanding of how to work together. And then the second part, this is not a one-time campaign, it's a long-term strategy, as I said, is to be able to work with organizations that have the capability to implement marketing strategies, which may or may not be EDC, but we have our chamber, we have the Scituate Visitor Center, we have other organizations within town who can be implementing partners, and we're really looking forward to being able to work with them moving forward to do more of the implementation work for where the actual strategy is put into action from the top-down side. But ultimately, this is trying to have Scituate be able to see Scituate through its own lens, and we really appreciate how you guys are making that happen.
Thank you.
Michelle, come on back up.
Okay, so it's your turn. It's important to have the baseline understanding of how different constituents, each of you, think about tourism in Scituate and marketing Scituate as a destination. So this part of the meeting is for the purpose of getting to know your thoughts. We have markers back there on that table, and big sheets of paper in the back that have questions written on them. And the questions are the questions that are also on your handout, I think, right?
On the
Your
back.
We're gonna do this informally. You're gonna walk around the tables, record your answers to the questions. You can pick a color, any color. We're not gonna track it. So we're not gonna know who wrote what necessarily. So just pick any color that's your favorite. It helps me as I'm going through the flip charts and making it into a report to separate out the answers. So I'll go quickly through the questions now so you can get an understanding of what we want to capture. So question number 1 is, what are the qualities that make Scituate a place that people want to visit? 1-word answers, descriptive words and phrases. Just write it and move on. By the way, each of those stations has 2 or 3 pieces of paper under it, so if you run out of room, you can flip. In addition to these qualities and attributes, what themes or little-known attributes do you feel need to be elevated? In other words, what isn't talked about? We know you have a beautiful harbor. What is the natural world in Scituate? Where are the trails, the bike paths, all of that? What official vehicles are in place currently to inform and engage visitors? So social media, websites, links on other sites to Scituate, printed brochures or red cards, advertising placement, fam trips for tour operators and travel media, all of the above. What is in place? And then what other ideas do you have about Scituate as a destination to visit that are not already being implemented? So other ideas for communicating out to, bring visitors in, or other ideas for vehicles to do that. Number 5 is what ancillary businesses and organizations, the names of those businesses, support the tourism industry. In other words, what's the foundation of the tourism industry? So banks, insurance companies, construction companies, cleaning companies, for all the many Airbnbs that are in this town. I don't know if you know, but I did a little research and there's lots, a lot of them. Number 6 is a 3-part question. What are the objections posed by opponents of developing tourism in Scituate? In other words, what have you heard around town? What do people not want? And then there's several columns on this page, question number 6. To what percentage do you feel their concerns are valid? So what I'm asking for is for you to think about the objection, and sometimes you'll think, that's a ridiculous objection, or, well, maybe they're 50% right, or maybe they're 0% right, or maybe they're 100% right. So what are the objections, and then what is the percentage that you would put next to that? And then finally, in a few words, why do you think this percentage is correct? So what I'm trying to get at there is why you think the sentiments that you've heard may be a little bit correct or may not be correct at all. Just in a few words. So, do you have any questions? Would you like to go and get a marker and you can start anywhere, you don't have to start at number 1. We have too many people in the room to start at number 1. So You can start anywhere and just get up, walk around. You can talk to each other. You know, you're gonna see what other people have written. So, not a big secret.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for spending that time to engage in that activity. Again, our cards are both up here on the table. Please take one home with you. We have questions after tonight, but for sure, if you have more answers or you think of something later, send it, because we really want to make this comprehensive. And it really helps inform the answers that we'll get back to the EDC. So we wanted to just spend a few minutes allowing you to ask questions either about the contractor initiative or about how we've split the work between the two of us. Are there any questions that you'd like to ask?
Or anything about anything.
We talked about the communication with the stakeholders.
Yes.
How do you plan to include people like the Scituate Chamber of Commerce? or
Chamber of
other
Commerce, yeah.
Different people that think they have ideas to incorporate those ideas.
Sure.
So they'll share that. Is
Thank
there
you.
a plan that you have for that? Or?
Yeah, so we're doing this in a tiered rollout plan. So this is and actually people from the chamber were invited tonight. And people that were not able to attend, that's why we have, thank you so much Scituate TV in the back. They're here tonight recording our session so that way they can watch it at a later date when it's convenient for them and also participate virtually. But this is, we hand-selected you all to be our top tier as being vital for information and communications in town because of the organizations or businesses that you're involved with. And then there will be another set, we also have stakeholder meetings continuing to go out that we're going to be engaging in. If you want our ear and you want to talk with us on a longer basis, we've already done many of these, but we're happy to meet with you and talk more about it individually. And then we're going to be increasing the communication to broader spectrum. So we're going to go next, we're going to add the whole business sector in town, not just the higher end of it. The Chamber of Commerce is also going to be hopefully helping us by communicating some of these projects through their channels to the membership and to the town through their social probably as well. Great question though, thank you.
Yes.
So, I'm going to ask actually. So I'm Christina Carrera, I'm from the Scituate Salt Cave.
Yes.
I'm here representing the Salt Cave.
Yes.
I'm also the co-chair of the chamber.
Right.
So
Yes.
we would absolutely welcome anything to bring to our members and
That's
also to
right.
the community.
Right.
There's been some transition, and we're looking for our initiatives are really to direct towards helping the small businesses in town.
That's great.
So,
and tourism.
one of the things I think that you can help us with is this tourism assets inventory. And maybe if you could send that out to all of your members, as well as everyone in this room and the people who could not attend tonight. We did invite about 35 people. So, so we will get
That's on
to,
Monday.
Yeah, we're
Yes.
going to be sending it out, and we had actually talked to Barry already about communicating that through the right channels to you, but it's so great that you're just sitting here so you can
Yeah.
talk about it.
we love that.
Because each person that participates grows the integrity of the inventory.
Did you have a contact at the chamber?
Several.
Yeah,
yes.
that's what I thought.
Yes.
Who are you contacting?
I can look at the list, I'll look at it.
Anyone else?
Shelley is part of
Okay.
EDC, so she also has that.
Okay.
And we've had a meeting with Shelley.
Yeah, we had a private
We've
meeting
had a meeting
with
with
Shelley,
And
stakeholder
Sue
meeting, yeah.
Maybe Matt?
Matt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He told
Yeah,
me.
I was really sorry that Matt wasn't here for the dress story.
Oh, yeah.
Are there any other questions that we can help you with while we're here in person?
you can always reach us by email or phone, like we said.
Okay, so we're just gonna go over those
Yes,
changes.
we have one.
Just a quick question. Hi, so
Yes.
I'm Brenda O'Brien from Scituate Cultural Council.
Hi.
Hello. I'm a huge fan of Michelle's.
Oh.
Are this, what is my question? So this is not like a big secret, like I can talk to the neighbors about what you're doing
Yeah,
and I
no.
can
Yeah.
It's not a
share
secret
this
at
with
all.
other cultural council people?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's a
That's
municipal.
funny
comment. Yeah.
Well,
Because-
no, but because that's what it's, that says a lot right there
Yes.
about
Well, how the
how
thought
Right.
process
people are
is
not
here.
sure about sharing.
Right, yeah.
Oh, share
Well, I want to
away.
share.
I know.
In
I'm a
fact,
big mouth, but
this is the
I want to
first
share.
full meeting we've had of stakeholders with the intent that those stakeholders would go back to their respective organizations and businesses and bring us more information.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
So-
following on that,
Yeah.
Yes.
talking points are from this sheet.
Yes,
That sheet is trying to inform you of what we're trying to do through
Okay.
our contract process
Okay, great.
and the steps it's going to take us to get there. In a nutshell, we're finishing up the discovery phase, and now we've got a lot of hands-on work and collection and implementation to do.
Okay,
So we're very early in all the process.
so we wouldn't need copies of your slides? That's
I
really,
don't-
that's really what I was getting.
Everything that's
I
on the
think
slide
Slide
is
is here.
identified on that sheet. If
Okay.
you would like that, I am happy to share it with you, because I'm a designer and I have fun with things, and I don't want it to die after check.
also, the handout has the questions that you just answered on the back, and
Okay.
you can use that with anyone. I mean, we could also send that out to all of you, the handout,
Yeah, sure.
and so that you can share it with your,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah,
And I have
that'd be
extra
great.
copies too.
I would love that,
I
yeah.
can
It'd be
give
helpful
you-
to have this digitally, I think.
Yes.
To share with others.
Yeah, I'd be
Absolutely.
happy to do that. I'd be happy to do that. I also, Staples made a mistake, and I designed it as an
Yeah,
8.5 by
the one-
14, and they printed it first on 8.5 by 11. So I have a whole set of 8.5, 11 size ones if
Right,
anybody
right.
needs a stack to take back with them.
But I think maybe through Barry,
Yeah.
we could send it out to this group
Yeah, that would be great.
as a digital
Thank you,
piece.
that'd be great. Thank you.
Happy to.
Okay,
So we just wanted to get to the point where we're talking about what's next. I think you went. there you
Yeah.
go.
so,
Well, that's next.
yeah, so,
Your turn.
yes. So, as I mentioned, we would come back to the tourism assets inventory and the volunteer opportunity. Those are two things that we really could use help with. So, you'll receive the tourism assets inventory, and you can share that with anyone. That will come in your email next Monday on June 23rd, and we ask that you complete that form and send it back to us by June 30th.
If you're able, we
you're
understand,
able.
like, people have vacation schedules and stuff, or a busy work week, and if that's the case,
Right.
just give us a heads up that you're working on it, and you could, and when you can return it to us, we'll hold space for that.
Yeah, so if you want to participate, or you want others to participate, just get it back to us as soon as possible after the 30th.
Michelle, real quick, so
Yes,
on that note, all these folks in here should feel free to share beyond.
Absolutely.
So there are people that feel free, again, to
share all of the
Please
information
share.
we've got
Right.
tonight.
Right.
And then for the visitor survey, which we really want to collect as much data as possible, as I mentioned, we need volunteers who are not shy. Because you have to walk up to people on the street and say, "Excuse me, where are you from?" And we will have identification, so volunteers will be well identified, either a hang tag or some sort of identification we haven't figured out yet. And you will carry a clipboard with forms, or visitors will be able to use a QR code and fill those forms out themselves whenever, if they're in the middle of something. and that will complete the survey. The dates are July 12th with a rain date of the 13th, and during Heritage Days on August 2nd with a rain date of the 3rd. If you would like to volunteer, as I mentioned, there are sign-up sheets over here. We've also asked Linda at the senior center to put it out to her constituents and get some volunteers from the senior center.
Right, and the committee that is chairing Heritage Days has been kind enough to already reserve a booth space for us to have kind of a home base at Heritage Days as well.
Right. So these are great ways to participate and be part of the process to help secure the future of the future success of Scituate and Scituate's economic prosperity.
That's awesome, thank you, Michelle.
Yes.
And, oh, you had a question, hello?
Yes.
I do. So my name is Bill Blake.
Yes,
Yes.
hi Bill.
Hi. I can share this on my group of 17, give or take, 1,000 people on
Right.
there. Do you want me to share on there?
17,000 people.
I know,
There's another 9,000 waiting to get in.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is it that many, Bill? Wow. That's
Good
amazing.
work, Bill.
Nice job, Bill.
Yeah, excellent job.
So, you know, when you share new things, there's lots of people that are angry.
Yeah.
There's lots of people that are happy. Like the angry ones will be the vocal ones. The
Yes.
happy people don't say anything.
Right.
So, like I said, before I start sharing anything, I just would like to ask you.
Can we, well, let's continue to talk about that first, but,
Absolutely.
and again, tiered rollout, so if we get this out through the chamber and we're getting a massive return, that maybe we don't need to go that far, but, I wanna make sure that the forms that I'm coding, don't allow for erroneous information to be dumped in there, and we could get a bunch of naysayers throwing things in there. I don't want that either.
Yep.
So let me just make sure that the coding works, so it doesn't tarnish the results, so to speak.
You just want to have one or two people that are the voice of your team. So
Yes.
if, once you do go social media and really start to blast it out, however,
Yeah,
or whatever vehicle, that all the comments come back to the person that's going to answer.
right,
Right?
That's
So if it's
yeah,
you, Michelle, or
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can get the chamber first to put it out on their social, because it's more likely that the Chamber of Commerce has a contained audience versus Situate
And
Situate Monthly
businesses.
really does go to people that are all over the United States that don't live here, you know, and maybe those aren't the best participants. Yeah.
We're also happy to share anything,
Oh, that would be
whether it's
great.
this or something else in the library's newsletter. It
Fabulous.
goes out to about 6,000 people,
Yeah.
most of whom are residents.
Yeah.
But I don't, again, kind of the same point, I don't know if this is where you're looking for that kind of feedback.
We want people that are from the community, and I would say
Yes.
that people that follow the channels for the library are gonna be community people, so yeah, I think that would be great.
If we would be able to get it pretty quickly, because our next newsletter is gonna go out next week.
I can get it for you on Friday.
Okay.
How's that? And if anybody does have that situation where they have a newsletter, might be my job in life to be the communicator, so I'm
Right.
happy to provide you with content and images or anything that you might need for publication purposes.
Yes.
Is it valuable to have this summer visitor survey also maybe promoted through that QR code you were saying in the library? I'm just
Well-
thinking about like the audience on Heritage Days is like such a specific group of people
Sure is.
that
Right.
come one day a year.
Right,
Yeah.
we
Whereas
wanna
like
find
the
that
people
out.
who come to maybe like the library or into Lucky Fin, they might be people that are here visiting for a week during the summer,
Right.
you know? It just feels like two very different audiences
Right,
of what a visitor is to Scituate.
yeah.
I don't know if
Right.
someone who comes on Heritage Days is someone who's coming back to spend money here
Right,
for a
so
whole week.
that is the reason that I picked July 12th, which is not a
A
holiday.
no-name day.
And it's a no-name day, and we also need to find out who's here on Heritage Days, because that's the
It has
largest,
a large attraction, right?
you know, that's the largest
We were also-
attraction and the oldest attraction,
We
probably.
were also
in
looking for
Scituate.
volume, because we need if we go downtown or to any of the villages of Scituate and we run into 5 or 10 people, it's not gonna inform our survey well, so we needed a saturation. of-
I guess my question is that gonna deeply skew the data if you have a saturation of numbers from that one specific event?
Good question.
So,
Um,
I'm not.
I don't think so, as long as we get equal amounts of data from no-name days.
Yeah, I think
or
we'll have to have,
not holidays.
that's right, we'll have to look at the number, and we can weight the results, we've done that, in the,
Yes.
in the,
In the,
blanking for a moment, sorry.
yeah.
In one of the surveys that we're working on.
Oh,
we're
we weighted the
completing.
results in the benchmarking
In the
survey.
benchmarking
So we
survey.
can weight results.
So we can add, a multiplier to make it level off, the answers level off.
Yes.
I think I mentioned this to you before when we met, but the visitor center site does give us analytics
Good.
about what people are visiting as far as on the site, what they're interested in,
Right.
and also seasonally, and how far they're coming from.
Yeah, we would
On
let
the
them,
demographic.
that would be very
Yes.
valuable,
That
and
would
that,
be-
the visitor center might be another place that we want to put one of the
Yeah.
surveys on,
Right.
on there. We're gonna create a QR code, and we have to actually create the survey, that's like, part of the next phase.
Yeah.
But when we get to that point, thank you for pointing that out,
Okay.
that would be a very valuable place to put it as well. Is that it? Yeah, sure.
Yes.
The visitor survey, would you consider having like big posters like they have at concerts and thing with a QR code?
That's what we're gonna do.
Is that what you're going to have
Yes,
inside?
Yeah, we're gonna have,
Yeah, you just-
well, we're gonna have, during the survey days where people are going around, we're gonna have, they're gonna be holding clipboards, and on the back of the clipboard is gonna be QR code that people can just shoot right there and, do it from their handheld
And have that at the
device.
parking area or even
Right.
at the Greenbush station? that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I know, I wanna make sure that we're covering all sides of town, because
Right.
Scituate is not just the harbor, you know.
So,
Honestly, it would be cool to have it on the buses, people, that's like, they're busing people in, like, have it on the bus, so when people are just sitting there, they can do it.
Yeah,
what
I mean,
bus
we
is
could
that?
even do the trains, but the trains,
There's a bus that goes like a shuttle
Shuttle
from,
from-
Okay.
you go to park at Greenbush, and
Right,
it shuttles
right,
you
right.
into town.
Okay,
yeah,
that's GATRA?
No.
No,
We
they have it in the
should-
buses.
Yeah.
That's a good
Yeah,
idea.
you can have it at Widows Walk, because there are a lot of people who come from all different areas.
True,
of the golf
that's
course,
true.
And have that right at the counter.
Right.
Also-
When they register.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. The harbor master, because
Yeah,
the harbor is, the water
Oh,
harbor,
yeah.
Right,
right,
is actually another business district.
yes.
itself, right,
Totally on top.
right, I remember talking to you
Yeah.
about
Yeah,
that.
the yacht club and the boat club
Yeah,
with all the
Yeah.
trains.
Yeah, thank you for all these ideas, this is
Yeah,
great.
this is
You're
great.
doing some of our work for us.
Which is why we called you all.
Yeah, that's right. No, that's really helpful, and we certainly want to make that phase of the project super comprehensive, because it absolutely is going to inform the results that we come up with in our reporting back to EDC. So, anything else? Have we soaked up enough of your time tonight? I recommend you all take 2 cookies home. If everybody likes it, it might end up in my next cookbook, but I don't know. But I just want to turn this back over to Barry for a minute, and to Grace, and thank them again for working on this together with us. We're so
And
appreciative.
thank all of you for your time.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you.
amazing.
I'm really excited.
Michelle and Michelle, thank you very, very much for tonight, but also for leading us and really throwing yourselves into this. It ultimately, I know that over the winter, or I guess it was last fall, when we were doing this RFP, I know that I was filled with a lot of nerves. I wonder if Grace was filled with a lot of nerves. Are we doing this right? Are we going to deliver for the town of Scituate something that will create an impact? And we really feel that we're on the right track. Thank you so much. Just reiterating again, you're going to be getting some emails from me. So again, it's just, who is this guy? If you're wondering why you're not getting an email from a situatema.gov email address, boards and committee members don't get an official email address. So That's why you see the barry.curlin.scituate as a fake official email address. Or EDC,
Yes.
EDC Communications email, which we
Please
created
don't
for the
put it
survey
in
last
spam
year. Those ones are good. I promise you're actually seeing the faces behind those email addresses today. But I'm gonna be sending out emails about the call for volunteers for the visitor surveys, July 12th, August 2nd, potentially at the end of August. And thank you for the ideas for how to get the word out as well. I'm listening for that for the State of the Business Community Survey, State of the Business Community second annual now. We'll be launching very soon. It has a business and board focus to pick up on who you're representing from the board side and the representative association side, and for the businesses, we're looking to hear directly from the businesses as well. So it is a similar but slightly different audience, but there's a lot of overlap, especially in this room. The tourism assets inventory is going to be coming from me as well to keep pushing that out, and we'll have a nice week sprint to test your coding. Thank you very much. But again, thank you for the ideas. Thank you for caring about Scituate. And thank you for sort of a really broad group. Bill, I appreciate your question about how to plug in your group and the signal that you pick up, which is a very, very large signal, while remaining sensitive to the idea of, we're looking at weighted discussions here, right? We're trying to pick up on the community. Thanks for taking that, and it sounds like there's a discussion to be had there for how best to engage with the social media community in a way that really informs this. But ultimately, I feel really encouraged tonight and in all that I've seen in the work that you're doing and are going to be doing over the summer, that this is a stakeholder-driven effort, that what we're ultimately doing is we're creating a marketing initiative that is a mirror that Scituate holds up to itself and allows itself to describe what's going on, and then different stakeholders can use in the way that they want, as well as having some more centralized initiatives that are the tide that floats all boats. I know there's always a lot of fear, as you say, there's anger with new things, but a lot of times I think it's this fear that is sometimes nostalgia driven, right? We are a certain kind of community. We don't want to be this kind of community. Well, what kind of community are we? And let's make sure that we move forward as that community. I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you to the EDC for supporting this, all the commission members, Grace Gardner especially for really being the person who has brought us to where we are today. I am just a pretty face.
Very pretty.
Thank you. All of the stakeholders who are here tonight and who have participated and will continue to participate. McGrath PR, Ideas Ablaze, and again, thank you to the Senior Center.
Yes.
We're done.
Continue to stay in touch. Business cards are up on the table. Cookies are up on the table.
Did you?
I made